Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to The Quality Hub, Chatting with ISO. I'm your host, Xavier Francis. Today I'm here with Scott Dawson, President, Drew Markley, VP of Sales, both from here at Core Business Solutions, and Stephanie Alexander, CEO of Boost. Glad you all could join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Great to be here, X.
Thank you, Xavier.
Awesome. Glad again to have you all here. Now, today's podcast is part of our Survive and Thrive series, the podcast dedicated to delivering practical strategies for small businesses. Our mission is to help you navigate these unprecedented times of change and uncertainty. Our episodes are packed with real-world advice from trusted industry experts tailored specifically for small business leaders like you. Thanks for joining us as we explore insights that can empower you and your business to not only survive, but truly thrive. Now, today's topic is governmental contract turbulence. But before we get started on the topic, let's learn a little bit about our guest and their journey. We'll start with Stephanie. Could you share a little bit about yourself, please, Stephanie?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Stephanie Alexander. I'm the CEO of Boost LLC. We are a company that's been around 14 or 15 years, which feels like several lifetimes in GovCon. I don't know about you guys, but every year in GovCon is like a dog year. And we help people with their back office. So what do I mean by that? Mainly their G&A support. So all things from accounting to contracts management, pricing, hiring people, firing people, and everything in between.
That's awesome. Really appreciate you being here. Very interested to hear what you have to say. How about you, Scott?
Well, X, I'm with Core Business Solutions, started 25 years ago and focusing on helping small businesses with compliance. And recently we joined LRQA, which is a global assurance company. So we're learning how to work with a big brother. They've been great to work with and looking forward to this conversation because I know a lot of small businesses are puzzling over current events, shall we say?
Yeah. And Drew, what about you?
Thanks for having me on as well. Like you mentioned, I'm Drew Markley. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at Core Business Solutions. I've been here for a little over 8 years, helping small and medium-sized businesses attain and maintain ISO certifications and other cybersecurity compliance standards. Previous to Core Business Solutions, I was with a certification body for a little over 7 years. So hopefully I can bring some experience to the conversation on the regulations and compliance situations these GovCons can find themselves in.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to hand it off to Scott as one of our side guests, if you will, co-host, to start off with some of our first questions.
Yeah, glad to, X. And Stephanie, we'll start with, I guess, a question from your point of view at Boost as you work with businesses in GovCon. What are the big disruptors that your clients are facing right now in the GovCon space?
Scott, I feel like what isn't a disruptor in 2025 in federal contracting, sir? Maybe I should start with like what isn't happening.
Perfect. There you go.
You know what isn't happening? Contract awards, sir. Contract awards are not happening. Everything else seems to have. So we've made it, here we are midway through the year. We've made it through the new administration onboarding, the shock and awe, the Doge, all the things, right? So we are now kind of starting to settle in. We're seeing less and less of the major cuts within the administration and the government services, but we're seeing the impacts of the cuts. So we're seeing so many there's less government people. There's less people to do the work. And so what I worry about is as we get into government fiscal year end, where are the acquisition professionals? Where are the contracting officers? Where are the large contract awards? Where are even the RFPs? Because we have seen an absolute slowdown, right? And if not a complete stop. Now, I am hearing rumors that we're starting to see a little bit of pickup in terms of RFPs coming out on the street. Who's going to evaluate them? Who the heck has time on the government side? So we're seeing a lot of things impacting the industry. Unprecedented is a word that I feel like is thrown around quite a bit, but I feel like in 2025, it's actually real.
Yeah.
So we've got way more competition. A lot more people are hungry for it. They've got to make up for what they may have lost or what they, thought was in their pipeline. We've got a kind of race to the bottom in terms of rates. There's definitely going to be competition and rate pressure. We've got new players in the space, right? We've all heard about Silicon Valley coming in. We know this administration wants to kind of shuffle it up, kind of get some new ideas, new people in the space. We've got people who've been in GovCon for years and people who don't know a thing about it. So we have a lot of different factors happening this year that we haven't seen to this extent before, or at least not in my bajillion years in federal contracting or so, it feels like. So that's a long-winded answer, but the answer is everything is going
everything.
on.
Wow. Do you find any contract vehicles or agencies or whether there's more delays or it's been more severe, or is it just bad everywhere, sort of is what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's been bad everywhere. I think we're all looking at GSA going, how's this going to work? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So GSA has become the preferred contracting vehicle, or so we're told. We're hearing that they're going to start migrating larger contracts over there, soup, those types of things. And then we're like, but yet you cut all your staff. So who's going to do this work, and how's that going to work for everybody?
It might be AI to the rescue, Stephanie. It might
AI is going to save everyone, as
Yeah.
I think every marketing person out there will tell you. And as all of our websites now say that we do AI, much like we all did cyber. It's the new buzzword, but I'm like, AI isn't going to save your complete revenue in your pipeline, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there are applications for it, but my God. They have started talking about this administration seems much more keen on adapting AI, which I think is actually a very positive step for acquisition. So I think sometimes the intentions actually aren't that bad. It's just the way and the methodology that it's been going, how it's been done.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a bull in a china closet exercise here. But what's your take, Drew, on just the climate, the business climate for small businesses in the GovCon space, especially as they're thinking about compliance and preparing for future contracts and that type of thing? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? And how does this compare to 2020?
Well, it's really hard to add anything to what Stephanie said, because almost everything I've learned from on government contracts has come from her and the fine people over at Boost. But I just see trepidation with all these government contractors, really afraid to go back out there and invest from a certification standpoint, invest in more certifications or invest in more people. Just in layman's terms, it's wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Wait and see what happens. Wait and see if these shifts, like Stephanie mentioned, to the GSA take place. And if it takes place like planned, how are these things going to proceed when they have less people?
Mm-hmm.
So I really see it's a big wait and see for all these small businesses that we deal with that are even not direct government contractors, but indirect government contractors.
I totally agree. And in fact, I just wrote a blog about this where I think right now, if you ask for my advice, it's to stop waiting and seeing, because that is what everyone in your competition is doing, right? Everyone has been paralyzed. Everyone is like, well, I don't want to make investments. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what my pipeline looks like. And I'm like, we're not going to get more information.
Yeah.
Right. Like there is no more information that anyone magically has. There's nothing else that's coming out right now. So I'm kind of like, you got to start moving. Like you got to start, like you've got the second half or the back half of 2025. You have got to start moving. What has happened with your teams? What has happened with your pipeline? What's happened with your current staffing? Like CEOs need to be thinking and moving, not just paralyzed, waiting for some further information. And we all understand why the first quarter, but by now I'm like, you got to keep grooving. You got to get out there and grind.
Do you find that this might be a good time for people to start look at things like different certifications and things like that for when things finally start to smooth out? Do you think the scoring and things like that are still going to be very similar?
My personal opinion is that CMMC has done a 180, right? We've seen with this administration, Katie's back at the realm. She is not playing around with CMMC, and folks have to get serious about it.
Right.
We've been kind of moaning about how much it costs and how hard it is and all these other things. We're not playing anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like small businesses, if you've stuck your head in the sand from here until now, like if you don't have a plan, you're going to be left behind. It is no longer going to be a nice to have. It's going to be just to keep the doors open thing.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely see it moving from DOD to all the civilian agencies, right? Like I feel like there's no way it can't with all of the threats we have going on in the world. So I feel like if you haven't getting down that path, you're so behind the eight ball and you need to put all hands on deck on getting to at least that. Other certifications, I think it depends on the company and who your business is, right? And who your ultimate customer is. I think that the businesses are moving, like we're seeing a lot more come out as large and full and open type of competition. So a lot of our small business friends are going to be subcontracting like they have been, but even more so in the next couple of years. So if that's the case, then that certification may actually be a differentiator between you and your peers to your large prime.
Well, doing any of these projects takes cash, and cash flow has been hit. People have been hit. There's a lot of things pulling on bank accounts right now. So, Stephanie, how do you see small businesses reacting when cash is so tight and contracts are so uncertain? What's kind of the initial reactions you're seeing from people?
So I think some people were just kind of trying to wait it out. I think if you were hit quite hard by your contracts, you were starting to let your people go. We've seen people navigating severance and is it a layoff or is it what are they doing? So we've kind of gotten through that. So now we're left picking up the pieces, right? And if you aren't rebudgeting mid-year, you absolutely should be. What's real? What's in the pipeline? What does the cash flow look like? What does your fringe rate look like? The corporate team that you had supporting you in December of 2024 is probably not the corporate team that you need post-Doge, contract shrink back, right? So you have to start asking yourself really hard questions like, do I need as many people on my corporate team? Do I need all of the things that I've had before? Should I cut a couple of these things, knowing that I need to get my wrap rate as low as I can get there to be more competitive in this market? And so I'm starting to see people who are like, I don't want to they're putting off a couple of projects. They're also kind of like, I'm not sure, recruiters. Do we need as many recruiters as we used to have? Probably not, right? The marketplace is pretty robust right now with a lot of candidates. So recruiting gets cut. HR, right? Like maybe I'll streamline that, or maybe I don't need the office admin as much. So people are starting to like really hone in on what they absolutely need to run their business versus what was nice to have.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with those comments. And I'd imagine many small businesses are looking for outsource opportunities or partners that they can work with to keep their systems working, keep their business moving forward, but maybe not have the heavy salaries and benefits and all the things that you need to have when you have a team. I mean, these are really hard conversations to have, hard to think about. But if you're looking past the current 5-week period or 3-week period that is our latest reaction to the news, and we're looking longer term, I think being agile and being lean, we throw those words around a lot, but it's just as important as ever. And planning to be able to compete as the race to the bottom continues.
I think it's flexibility, right? People want the flexibility. I want to be able to scale up when I need to, but I want to be able to scale right back down. You're just trying to get it like you're riding that fine line of when do you hire? And I mean, this is true all the time, but like even more now, like people are pushing their people. They know it's a kind of rough job market out there, and they know things have totally changed from where they were in the job market of 2022, 23, especially in the DMV area and especially in federal contracting. So they're going to push for higher utilization before they actually make the investment in a new salaried person. They want flexibility, and they're going to squeeze more utilization out of their people. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that here's the state of the union.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about, partnerships. Do you find any advice in what might be a good partnership or how to get there?
So I do think that sometimes easier to go in as a pack than it is to go in by yourself, right?
Okay.
So yeah. I always tell people, I ain't too proud to cash a check. I'd rather take money as a subcontractor than have zero money as a person who arrogantly primed. Mm-hmm. So, and especially because we're seeing so much influx and we're seeing kind of a move to the larger organizations, small businesses have to understand, and they usually do in this space, that you do have to sub most of the time. And you may be subbing more than you want to going forward, right? Everybody wants to be prime. We get it, but it may not be the state of the world right now. So from that perspective, you care about teaming partners who have the same kind of ethics that you do. I mean, we all have worked with each other. Everyone in GovCon is a friend of me. You've worked together, you've teamed together, you've been against each other. We all kind of have like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or, 3 degrees of GovCon. So you kind of can get a feel for the large system integrators and primes and what and how they're like. Are they going to steal my work? Are they going to steal my people? Are they going to slow roll me on payment? Are they going to totally prevent me from talking to the client? Or are they going to be, this is more of a team? Are they going to keep me in my swim lane? And it's very clear what the rules and, what the rules of engagement are. These are things that you can get by talking to anybody in the industry who's also partnered with them, right? So now more than ever, get out from behind your laptop and get out and have coffees, go to networking events, talk to other CEOs and find out what is the word on the street. What are you experiencing? What am I experiencing? People are so worried about telling the truth or actually admitting that they're having a hard time. And I'm kind of like, why wouldn't you want to talk to other CEOs and be like, well, what have you done differently? Or here's what I've done, and learn from each other. You don't have to broadcast it all over LinkedIn, but a confidential coffee where you actually talk about real things can go a long way. And some of that is the intel on your SIs and who they like to team with and who you should steer clear of.
Yeah, I know when we were thinking about the Survive and Thrive series, we were thinking one of the objectives is that people don't feel like they're alone in all this, because we're not. We're all affected.
Yeah.
And, sitting and worrying on your own, trying to work through all this on your own, that's the hard way to do this. And you might as well get other perspectives and get some encouragement from others who are finding some early success or thinking about things in a new way. And it might trigger some new thinking in your own mind, in your own business. I think that's important to, network and be open to new ways of doing business.
Absolutely. I promise you that someone's doing way better than you. And I promise you that someone's doing way worse.
Yeah.
And you can't always trust what you see on LinkedIn.
Right.
Marketing and optics are everything in this industry. And it's not always the truth.
Yeah.
People are struggling. And then there are some people are thriving, and you want to have a mix of everybody, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I promise you're not the worst and you're not the best.
Yeah, for sure. So Drew, on the compliance side, and I guess we're very familiar with the ISO compliance and now more recently CMMC. And one thing both of those take is overhead to set them up, maintain them, deal with auditors and assessors. If it's on the CMMC side, you've got all these IT things that have to be done. Is this the time to insource or outsource to get this done? I guess is the question.
Well, many of the folks that I talk to definitely are looking for fractional help. They don't, but I think Stephanie hit on it. They are not going to have a full-time person in IT, and they're not going to have a full-time person in cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or they're not going to have a full-time person in regulatory compliance, whether that be local, state, federal, ISO. They just don't have the funds available to not only bring that person on board, but then manage that person is an additional cost as well. So I see everybody looking for that type of fractional help, I call it, in this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, many times that's with a consulting or a consulting program or on an individual project. I see that across the board, and I see that for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think that's right.
People insourcing that probably is a few years away before we see people get full-time people on board for that. So a lot of people are still looking for help, but they're looking for help that is budget friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's budget friendly.
Agree.
Yeah, exactly. That way you can move forward in a time of uncertainty and try to get that advantage. Maybe you've been behind the 8 ball in getting some of these compliance requirements taken care of, and maybe things are a little slower. And if you can manage the budget carefully and find the right partners to work with, you can make progress and you can get some things done so that you're ready to take advantage of new opportunities or partner with folks who need certain requirements to be met or whatever the case may be. Hey, Steph, before we wrap, I want to turn to one final topic here, and it's basically on partnerships like mentor protege programs and teaming arrangements and those type of things. How important is it? I know you touched on this, but I want to circle back one more time. How important is it to be building these relationships right now.
I think it's more important than ever because there's no way that you can be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And you've got to have people on your side. It's better to go into GovCon right now as a pack than it is to go in at it alone. I would not always give that advice in years past. I feel like there's been some years where I'm like, yeah, you should have teammates and everybody should play nicely, but you can definitely kind of be more on your own. I don't think that that's the case, especially for the under 50 million squad for this administration. I just don't. I feel like especially as you've got new players, ideal team, a system integrator or somebody large who actually knows the space and has the vehicles, new people coming into the market, right? So they've got great technology, other things, but they don't know that your customers like you do. So a hodgepodge, if you will, of every type of teaming partnerships that you can put together. In terms of JVs and mentor and protege, I think those are always strong, but you've got to be really careful who you're doing those with. And I always hear people tell me that it's harder to break up a mentorship than it is to get divorced. So be careful who you go into contractual relationships with.
Pick the right partner.
Pick the right partner. Pick the right partner for you.
Okay. Well, this has been great today. I really appreciate it. So what I'm getting is don't just sit on your hands right now. Do something. Maybe it's time to look into some sort of certification, CMMC, maybe outsource and get some help on some of those other things that you were thinking about doing but haven't done yet, maybe in an ISO space or something like that. Don't try to be a prime. It's okay to subcontract. Definitely get out there, make connections with people in the GovCon space that you know, or maybe the ones you don't know. Maybe those are the ones you need to find or aren't as familiar with. And maybe it's time to look at a mentor protege type situation. Am I missing anything for final thoughts?
No, I would also say streamline your organization as much as you can and be thinking about, be very realistic when you're looking at your budgets. Figure out your cash flow projections, figure out what your wrap rate's going to be for this back half. What rates can you hit, but still not go out of business, still be profitable, still, it's all about how you're pricing right now.
Okay. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate it. Drew, did you have any last thoughts or anything?
No, I would say it's always a pleasure to learn more about GovCon from Stephanie. She's a wealth of information, and I know she practices what she preaches. So I attend her networking events and some other things that she puts on for her stakeholders. They're always fantastic. I always learn a lot. And I think the one thing that she said is inaction at this point is not an option. So you just have to figure out where you're going and go do it. But I am afraid a lot of people are going to be left behind because I see that as the status quo right now is let's wait and see what happens next. And what happens next could be what happens to you, not for you.
Not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, do you have any last thoughts?
Well, I'm going to put a little plug in for Steph's company, Boost. They are, as Drew was saying, fantastic team. They specialize in helping businesses be more efficient in the GovCon space. I think looking at your operations in a different light or with a different approach, it's probably time to reach out and get some guidance and some advice. And I know Stephanie would love to take your call. So check out Boost. We'll put a link where you guys can get it and make sure you can get in touch with Steph.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Really appreciate it, Stephanie. I appreciate you being here, schooling three middle-aged men on the GovCon space. It's really, really great to listen to you and really learn. I've learned a whole lot today.
Well, thanks very much for having me.
And that wraps up this episode of the Survive and Thrive series on the Quality Hub podcast, where we unpack real-world insights and share practical strategies to help small businesses like yours. If you found these conversations helpful, share them with your colleagues, your network, or anyone who could use a boost of practical guidance. You can access all past episodes on our website at thecoresolution.com, and be sure to check out the podcast description for contact information on Core Business Solutions and our podcast guests. And remember, thriving in a changing world starts with knowledge and the courage to act on it. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep leading with clarity, resilience, and purpose. Have a great day.